Good day, everyone. Today I want to review body paragraph structure with you, and I'm going to offer you the pie format as a means for checking to see if you have all of the elements of a solid body paragraph. Now, I have an example for you I'm going to show you in a moment, but first I just want to go over the acronym itself, the pie. The P stands for point, the I stands for illustration, and the E stands for explanation. And if you have pie in your body paragraphs, you are in really good shape. So here's an example of the pie format in action. So let's pretend that my occasion for writing was that I was assigned a paper in which I need to make an argument in how to improve the transportation infrastructure of my city. That's my occasion or my prompt. So just to define this real quick, transportation infrastructure are just the physical objects and systems that actually move people and goods to and from given places. So you can think about roads being examples of infrastructure, city buses, bike lanes, sidewalks. Those are all physical systems and objects that allow people and goods to move. So that's kind of what my topic is for this particular paper. So I used some variables in my thesis. So for example, I use X and Y just to take the place of the first and second main point. In real life, I would actually create good main points for this, but because this lesson is all about the body paragraphs, I really just have variables here. But quick review of my thesis. So my topic is the infrastructure of Alexandria, Virginia. The position I'm taking about that topic is that it should be improved. And then my main points are building X, creating Y. And then my real main point, this third one, is that I'm arguing that we should build a pedestrian bridge to the Van Dorn metro station. So there's my thesis. Topic, position, main points. I've got 3 main points, and following the system that we've been using all year, I would have 3 body paragraphs. So let's take a look at that third main point and the third body paragraph that I created. So I have this color-coded, and if we're thinking pie, the P, the point, is right here in blue. It's the main point for my thesis. It's the thing I am going to argue for in the entirety of my paragraph. If there is something in this paragraph that has nothing to do with my point, the point I'm making up here in blue, it does not belong here, and I might need to consider creating another body paragraph. So again, I am just going to restate what I've stated in my pronged thesis. The location of Alexandria's Van Dorn metro station is largely inaccessible to pedestrians, making it necessary for our city to design a pedestrian bridge over surrounding train tracks. That's the P, that's the pie. It's the main point from my thesis. Next comes the I, the illustration. Now this isn't an illustration where I'm going to draw some sort of picture in the middle of my body paragraph. I want you to think about I and illustration here is how do I use the ideas and the work of others to illustrate or to prove my point. So I have this. Karen Smith of the Virginia Department of Transportation writes, "The Van Dorn station is truly a product of a bygone era when the concept of the suburban station revolved around the driver that simply didn't want to drive all the way into the district. He'd park at the station and take the train the rest of the way." Notice my parenthetical citation here as well. Author's last name plus the page number. That should follow every quote that I have. That's the illustration. I'm illustrating my point with the work of others, people that have maybe studied the subject in greater depth than me, people that have a stronger sense of ethos when it comes to this particular field of study. That brings us to what I think is the most important part of the pie, the E, the explanation. Now, if we're thinking about the illustration being all about the knowledge of experts, the explanation, the E in the pie, that is all about me, the writer. I'm going to provide background information. I am going to provide my own thoughts and my own thinking, my own logic, and I'm going to tie and explain this illustration back to my point. So you'll also notice that the explanation here in purple is roughly about 50% or half of the body paragraph, and that's what we should be going for. We don't want to just have point, illustration, point, illustration, point, illustration, because this is where we, the writer, come in and we add something new to the conversation. So, in my explanation, I say the historical context provided by Smith underscores the fact that our city has not kept up with the changing transportation needs of Alexandrians. As the city has transitioned away from the suburb it once was, riders are shifting away from using the Van Dorn station as merely a stopping point on the way to work. It should be easily accessible to those that live and work in its proximity. After all, the goal of public transportation should be to remove incentive to drive and not encourage it. Again, this is where I am tying both my point and my illustration together, and I am adding something new to the conversation. So if this is my paragraph, this is where Mr. Gaffney's voice kind of lives, and it is truly the most important part of a body paragraph because it's where I myself am adding to the conversation. And that's pretty much the pie paragraph structure. So I want to real quick before we conclude talk about the writing process and where we should be implementing this pie structure. My first recommendation is that as you are outlining or as you are planning an essay, you are very conscious of making points, using illustrations through textual evidence or the work of experts, and finally making sure that you are explaining how that point and illustration work together. I also want you to make sure that you're adding something to the conversation within your explanation. So that's what that'll look like as you're outlining. On the revising end of the writing process, we really should be looking back at our body paragraphs to make sure that we have all three elements. That's it for the pie paragraph structure, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay safe, stay healthy.